Welcome to Tokyo Aleworks.
So it's kind of a small area in here.
Yeah, this is the brew lab part. The thing with Tokyo Aleworks is we're basically 3 breweries in one brewery.
Okay.
So we have the 5-gallon Blickman systems over here for people to come in and do their own beers.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because home brewing is technically illegal in Japan. Anything above 1% alcohol, you can't do it legally.
Really? Okay.
But people can come in and through our license be kind of assistant brewer for the day and make a beer on our system, ferment it in the 7-gallon SS Brew Tech Unitank fermenters, and within about a month then you get 48 bottles of your own craft beer.
Wow.
Then for kind of smaller collaborations, we have 1 US barrel system, again from SS Brew Tech as well. So 1 barrel US is around 110-ish liters.
Okay.
That we can make here for kind of, our own tap room, limited editions. Sometimes we'll do collaborations with different beer bars. So they'll come in like, oh, I want to make a beer together for anniversary. All right,
Okay.
here you go.
Okay.
So it's basically 10-liter kegs at the end of the day that they can take and use for their event, and everybody's happy.
All right.
And we're brewing together. Then, now they're here, this is the big boy is in here. It's a 7-barrel system, so it ends up getting a yield between 750 and 800. So watch your step here, so we'll step down.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of stuff in the way, so we're cleaning kegs today.
Oh, okay.
This is from Portland Kettle Works in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Fabricated and then brought over. Hot liquor tank, about 2,000 liters, where we have our hot liquor. This is where we make the hot water for brewing. Mash tun, again about 1,600 liter capacity for that. And boil kettle as well, 1,700 liters. The malt room is here. Looks like somebody spilled a bunch of malt over here, so we have to get that done up afterwards. There's our mill. It'll chuck through an entire bag of malt in about a minute. It just goes right through it, and then it goes from the auger directly into the mash tun. It has a grist hydrator on it as well, so you can start the conversion a little bit early and keep going through everything as quick as possible.
Okay.
Get more efficiency with just kind of how you're brewing.
Where do you get your malt from?
Depends on the style. Try to be as true to style as possible. So anything that is a UK style we get directly from usually Crisp Maltings in the UK. Any German style from Germany. American style from either Canada. There's from Alberta raw malting. Sometimes from the States as well.
I used to live near Alex.
Oh, nice. So next time you come by, you'll have to put a couple sacks of malt in your suitcase for us.
Yeah. How about your hops? Where do you generally get those?
Pretty much the same thing. There's a couple of guys that import from different countries. So German hops from Germany, American hops from the US. Some of the newer varieties, like Galaxy from Australia. There's some really good New Zealand hops as well. They're coming over. I mean, get directly from New Zealand. We don't use a lot of, or hardly any actually, domestically grown hops. It's not that they're bad. It's just they're completely different than what we're used to. So it could be the same variety, say Cascade. But Cascade that's grown domestically in Japan, just because of the difference in soil, it's a completely different flavor profile. So you're thinking that you're going to get A, and you end up getting like W. Like, how did that even happen? And it's good, but it takes a long time to kind of play with it and to see where you really want to come out at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I guess weather and soil type play a big part. One of my favorite hops is Mosaic. But I guess Mosaic grown in certain places might be a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, we've had was it Centennial that was grown in Michigan instead of kind of like, you know, around the Oregon, you know, around in that area, those kind of regions. And the Centennial that was grown in Michigan for some reason had like this little pineapple kind of twang to it. It was lovely. It was great, but you know, it just kind of came out. I was like, that
Wasn't
pineapple come from? Like, oh. But I can use that. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You weren't expecting it. Cool. Yeah, this is a cool little spot. And then, what are these on the right here? That's just where you do all the brewing?
Yeah, these are the fermenters. So we brew the beer here. We basically have about 200 to 300 kilos of malt that is ground down and milled into a grist. Grist then comes out.
Oh yeah,
here.
I see the auger right over there.
Yeah. So the auger comes out right into here, mixes with the water. It'll take about an hour for all the starches to convert to sugars, and then it'll do this up. Now the inside here.
Oh, okay.
When we're not brewing on the 7-barrel system, we'll just take the malt for the 1-barrel system and have it drop into buckets right
Okay.
here in the mash tun. That's why there's some extra little bits of malt there and some dust. That's just bonus material for the next time that we do the 7-barrel batch. We have a little bit of malt already in there for us. So it mixes up in here, then there's little plates here that'll stop any of the big chunks of malt from going there, going down, so we can get just the liquid, just the wort. Move that over to the boil kettle here. We'll boil it for 1 hour, mainly for most styles. Some will do a 90-minute boil if we need to get a little bit more boiled down on it and some kind of more kettle coloration
Okay.
and caramelization on that. We'll add the hops at that time, depending on the recipe, of course. 60-minute addition for some of the new kind of IPA styles that are lower IBUs. We might just only do a whirlpool at the end addition, so you don't get that as much bitterness.
Oh, okay.
And more just the aroma and the taste of each individual hop variety that we put in. So in the whirlpool, we basically spin it using the pump that's here. So take it, and the pump then sends it back, and it spins and makes a whirlpool.
Cool.
And the whirlpool then it takes all the hop chunks and some of the proteins that have come out during the boil, and it'll collect in the center of the kettle. And then we take the clear wort from the side here very gently, so you don't get all the hot residue and everything. Leave that into the kettle as much as possible.
Okay.
Run it through the heat exchanger there. So it goes from basically 80 something degrees to 16 to 18 degrees C in a couple seconds, and put it into one of our 6 fermenters.
And how long do beers usually ferment for?
For an ale, usually kind of the rule of thumb is about 1 month.
Okay.
So anywhere between 3-4 weeks. It also depends on the amount of alcohol. Higher alcohol beers will take a little bit longer to mature. Whereas we have something like a 3 or 4% alcohol, kind of like a table beer or a session beer. You can turn those around pretty quickly, usually within 2.5 weeks.
Oh wow. Last time we were talking about like your flavors and that mint chocolate stout. Is this where you do all the flavorings then?
Sometimes. Another time would be in the fermenter itself, because we'll do a dry hop for a lot of styles. For things like the mint chocolate stout, what we did was we put the organic, what do you call it, the munoya, so like the natural mint, so there's no pesticides at all on it. And we'll just put it right into the tank, just like we would with a dry hop.
Oh, okay.
The same thing with the chocolate part. We put the cacao nibs directly into the tank.
Oh, okay.
After fermentation.
So you're using nibs. Okay. Wow. And how long have you been around?
3 years. We're on our 4th year right now.
And how did you get into what got you into the craft brewing profession, I guess?
It's a long story short. I was a home brewer back in the States when I was a student. I came to Japan when I was 18 and went back and forth a couple of times. Really loved beer for a long time. In university, I learned to love Scotch whiskey as well. Went over to Scotland for a few years and worked at 4 different distilleries there. So I knew the professional side of distilling, and because of that, brewing as well with big equipment. It's basically, you make a beer without hops and then distill it twice, and that's single malt whiskey in a nutshell.
Okay.
I came back and yeah, it would be cool to start my own whiskey distillery here in Japan. You need really deep pockets, and you're not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor for about 10 years. But beer, I can enjoy the beer that I brewed last month, this month.
Right.
So, I want something to be able to drink now.
Yeah, and it's kind of an emerging market, so I think that's probably a smart choice. You know,
especially here in Japan, the craft beer kind of category in the market itself is still so small that you don't have, like in the U.S. it's all about the big guys versus the little guys and who's buying out who. The big guys here, they don't even really care about us yet because we're still tiny.
So small, yeah.
So you have people like have companies like Kirin just kind of making their own craft breweries because why not?
Yeah, I didn't actually know that Spring Valley was Kirin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went. I was there and yeah, and it's actually pretty good beer. I was surprised when I found out it was Kirin, because usually if you get the big brands, if you go to the market and you buy their cans, their craft beer is usually not very good. It's like they don't know what they're doing, it seems. But the Spring Valley was actually not too bad. What would you say your your favorite beer is that you currently make, or your kind of like your, how do you say it, like your flagship beer? Do you have one?
One is definitely Junior's Cream Ale, for a couple of reasons. One is there's not a lot of breweries that make a cream ale. 2, it's always been a personal beer of mine because my father, when I was growing up, there's a microbrewery that's been in New York State out of Rochester called Genesee. Genesee Cream Ale was always before craft beer was a big thing.
Okay.
They were a microbrewery before anything really happened. My dad always drank Genesee Cream Ale.
Okay.
And so when I was making a brewery, my father unfortunately was pretty ill. But I was saying to him, yeah, I'm gonna basically make a copy of Genesee Cream Ale just for you, Dad. And they go, oh, that's great. All right, what do you want to call it? You name it. It's your beer. He has the same name as I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm Robert Norman Stockwell III, so he's Junior.
Okay.
And he says, yeah, we're talking over the phone. Now call it Mr. Bob. Like, Dad, marketing-wise, no, I'm gonna have to shoot you down on that. It's not gonna happen. They're just gonna think it's me. I'll think of something. Unfortunately, he passed away before we were able to get the license and everything. But one of the first beers that we brewed was that cream ale.
Okay.
So I decided, in his honor, to call it Junior's Cream Ale.
Oh, that's very cool.
Robert Norman Stockwell Jr. And his face is on it and everything.
Really?
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, cream ales are similar to like Kilkenny, right?
Cream ale, basically it's a lager without lager yeast. It's with ale yeast. So you get a little bit of a little bit of fruitiness from the yeast itself, but other than that, it should be crisp, very easy drinking kind of, I call it a craft beer with training wheels.
Okay.
For people that come in just like, I don't know craft beer, I like Sapporo, I like Asahi, do you have any regular beer? Okay, so yeah. Why don't you try this first?
Okay.
So it'll be a little bit more, a little bit more rich than you might be expecting from some of the mass-produced lagers, but get you started in the category.
So that's a good beer to start with if you're just thinking of trying craft beer. Okay.
And just on a technical side, I really wanted to have a cream ale just to kind of show what we can do. Cream ales, even lagers themselves, technically they're a very hard beer to make because there's so little ingredients that go into it. If you have any little off flavor, it shines and it sticks out like a sore thumb. So being able to have a cream ale, a good cream ale, to me it's kind of my calling card to say to everybody, I can do this.
Okay.
So you know that I can throw tons of hops into the fermenter in here, and I can make tons of other stuff. But if I can't do that, then you know that I'm not a good brewer.
For sure. And what would you say you've got in the works for the future, and where do you see your brewery going in the future?
It's a good question, actually. Something that we sit around and talk about basically every week at our weekly meeting. And just how's it going right now? What are we doing now? Over the past 3 years, what we tried to really establish is us being a brewery that we call it a back to basics approach. So we go after the classical styles, the stuff that beer fans in Japan might not have seen yet. And so it's great to have the big hazy beers and the mint chocolates and we're doing the pumpkin spice latte beer as well. That's stuff that's just kind of for fun here and there. But we want to have with the cream ale, we want to have a really good solid West Coast IPA, something that's not hazy, that's clear, that's really bitter, high IBUs, kind of the old style IPAs. We want to have some UK styles, some ESBs, some English pale ales. It's kind of styles that you don't see a lot of people making. We have so many fermenters, and we have the ability to do lots of beer at one time, and also small batches of beer at one time as well. So it doesn't really matter, I can make 100 liters and see if it will sell before I decide to go full hog and do 800 liters of it, and just be able to have a tap room with 22 taps of beer, and it's all beer that we make. Yeah. And so anybody can come in and they can use us to study craft beer.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed your sour beers last weekend. How about sour beers? Do you find yourself doing any more sour beers in the future?
We do a lot of kettle sour beers, just to make sure that we don't mess up any of our fermenters and have some, lactobacillus, kind of like in here.
Yeah.
We're really good at cleaning. I think we have our SOP for cleaning down pat, but why tempt fate?
Right.
If we can make a good kettle sour, that's really all that I think we need to. We do something that I'll share a little secret. We don't use a regular souring strain. So usually you go to like a brewery supply and you'll get like an actual lactobacillus pure pitch that you put into the kettle. We go down to the local supermarket and get a 10-pack of the little Yakult.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And we'll pitch that and let that sour, because that has the same lactobacillus bacteria that I would be paying over Ichimaen to buy from brewery supply.
Oh,
I can get
okay.
it for 300 yen instead. And so
Wow.
our kettle sours, we can afford to put those out at the same price as all of our other beers.
Yeah, because sours are usually quite a bit more expensive.
And it's because you need to buy this pure pitch.
Okay.
As well as your yeast, and it just adds more cost. And even with a kettle souring, for a system like this, I need to leave this in the kettle for about 3 days while it sours.
Okay.
So that's just taking up more time. I can't brew another beer while this is in here, and so it ends up bringing the price up a little bit for that too. But just being able to use Yakult, there's ways that you have to do it. You have to manage the pH before you put in the Yakult, because there's other types of lactobacillus in it that don't taste as well. But if you get the pH right, then you can put in Yakult and
and you're doing it right, because sometimes I find with sour beers, they taste a little
dirty socks.
Yeah, like a little pukey, and
butyric acid.
but yours were just fantastic. So very good job. So I just wanted to say thank you for the little tour today and spending some time with us to explain Tokyo Aleworks. Really great company. So definitely check it out. Where are your locations currently?
Here in Itabashi, Itabashi Ichome is where we have the brewery and the honten, the kind of our original tap room. And then in Yurakucho as well, just underneath the actual Yurakucho station for JR. So I always say, if you were to jump off of the platform, you would land right in front of us. But please don't. Please go through the ticket gates and everything. Don't hurt yourself and whatnot. But basically 30 paces from the International Forum exit of Yurakucho. And for Itabashi, it's about a 5-minute walk from Itabashi on the Saikyo line. Again, 5 minutes walk again for the Mita line for the subway, and then also Tobusen for Shimo Itabashi station. That's about a 3-minute walk.
Yeah, and also just so you know that the food at the breweries is amazing as well. So go try out the food as well and have a couple beers or a flight. Thank you very much.
Hi.